welcome everybody. This is SharePoint Patterns and Practices, or also known as Office 365 Developer Patterns and Practices, a monthly community call. This is the October 2016 version. And the whole point of this community calls is to go through what has happened within the last month, and then also have a live demos on the individual capabilities which have been released. Today we have two different demos, one from Paolo and one from Ward Haman, around the capabilities which have been included within the October release within the GitHub. But let's get on going on the slides, and we'll have a chat on the way. And if you have any questions around what I was presenting, or the topics, or comments, or feedback, just feel free to use the iron window as we move along within the presentation. So we'll use the typical agenda again today. We'll start with the monthly highlights, essentially walking through what has happened within the last month, what were the contributions and other topics around the PnP initiative, and then we'll move into the demo section after that. We can pretty much assume that the demo section will start at past, and then we will maybe have some time for Q&A. Let's see how the timing actually goes. Let's try to get some 5 minutes on the end for Q&A if there's any random questions. But like mentioned, there's multiple PMP core team members in a call watching the messages. And if you have any questions around the topics, if you need to have a link, if you need to have anything, just let us know and we'll share with those with you as we move along. But let's get on going on the actual topic. So first of all, just a quick intro. I know that for many of you, this might be repeating the classic topic, but SharePoint BMP is really around, SharePoint BMP is owned by the SharePoint engineering nowadays. And this is a tool for us to work together with community. We want to actually understand how the community is doing customizations within a SharePoint in on-premises and within SharePoint Online, and then also provide guidance through the PNP initiative. So the PNP actually provides code samples, guidance documentations. We do have these monthly community calls. We have other community calls as well. The special interest group calls, we're going to mention them slightly later on the presentation. We do have case studies with Blue Meteor and Volvo Cars, and the themes are on SharePoint Framework, SharePoint Add-ins, Microsoft Graph, and Office 365 development in general. Some of those topics may be, especially Office 365 development is only for SharePoint Online or Office 365, which is understandable. SharePoint Add-ins topics are, however, completely valid for on-premises as well. And SharePoint Framework is going to be released for on-premises as well during next year. AKMS SharePoint BMP is the address where you can actually go and find the latest information. To be fair, I did not update that page after yesterday's release yet, so it is missing all just the latest links, which will be added there later today. So let's actually get on going on the monthly highlights. So before we go there, just to make sure that people are aware of this, when you're looking into anything around SharePoint customizations, you're wondering how to do user profile modifications, you're wondering how to do responsive UI customizations, the easiest way to find this guidance is not to go to the GitHub. Please go to dev.office.com/resource, and from the menu select PMP, resources menu, we have code samples and guidance search tool, which is a really easy way to find what's relevant for you, because there's a lot of samples, and going to the GitHub could be pretty, let's say, overwhelming to find what's relevant for you. So if you go to this search tool, use the search text box, for example, for branding or user profile or site provisioning or whatever, you'll find those samples which are available through the BMP initiative. Good, moving along. So within the last month, we released quite a few videos again as a PMP webcast. So the PMP webcast is something what we started actually pretty close to a year ago. And we've been posting weekly webcasts every single Monday, first in Channel 9 and then in YouTube. So nowadays these videos are published in YouTube in our PMP YouTube channel, which is in AKMS SPPNP-videos. And within that YouTube channel, we release all of our community call recordings, all of the demo videos, all of the SharePoint Framework tutorials, and whatever is coming. We use the same channel for that. So it's the easy location to find out if you're looking into videos which we release through the PMP initiative. So within this month, we released, well, within last month or within the previous month, we released 5 new webcasts. So there's a webcast for reference in external JavaScript libraries for client-side web parts related on SharePoint Framework. There's an introduction webcast together with Paolo on PMP Partner Pack 2.0, a really nice webcast which is showing how you can use the PMP engine or the PMP Partner Pack already today within your customizations. There's the Using Office graph from SharePoint Framework client-side web parts together with Waldeck Mastercards, and that's around SharePoint Framework customizations, which is still in dev preview, just to make sure that you're aware of it. We did a webcast on the CRUD operations, as in create, read, update, delete operations with SharePoint Framework client-side web parts, which is actually an awesome example for SPFX, because it's showing how to do these CRUD operations using Angular, React, without a framework, and then also using SPN, SharePoint Core, JavaScript Core library. And then the last one, which went live on this Monday, is the introduction to the PMP Templates Gallery. Which walks through how to use the PMP Templates Gallery. You will see similar kind of a demo actually today within this community call, but we wanted to do that demo within the community call as well, so you can actually ask questions as we move along and as Paolo is demonstrating any of the capabilities around the PMP Templates Gallery. Good. Month-over-month statistics. I know that for many of you this might not be super interesting, but obviously for us within the PMP initiative, where we're tracking the usage quite closely, so we understand what information is actually relevant for you and how things are growing. And the unique visitors are growing quite fast, actually, in a GitHub. The blue one is the Office Dev, the PMP initiative repos, and the orange one is the SharePoint repositories, which is relatively new thing in a GitHub. So if you go github.com/SharePoint, you'll find, for example, samples for the SharePoint framework and for the webhooks and all of that. And that's kind of a starting up still. The PMP repositories themselves have existed for quite a few years already, so people are finding them more and more and are using the samples more and more. The GitHub forks and pull requests are growing steady, and the MSDN unique visitors, it seems to be that I missed updating on that chart, but it's growing in a steady direction as well. The PMP CSAM core component, which contains the enhanced methods and properties and functionalities on top of client-side object model, that usage is actually growing quite fast as well. So in September, we had 2,230 individual tenants which were using the PMP CSAM core component in production in SharePoint Online. We cannot actually track the usage within the on-premises, so this is based only on the SharePoint Online side. And why is that number interesting for you? Well, if you're considering using the PMP, let's say the provisioning engine or the core component or the PMP PowerShell, the fact that there's more than 2,000 other tenants using that will give you confidence, most likely, that it's production proven. And it also gives us in Microsoft, let's say, a leverage, which means that if there's any issues which we find in the product, if there's changes within the services, we actually catch them quite often using our automated unit testing within the PMP. So there's an automated way for us to actually do testing with the pre-release stuff in the SharePoint Online, and using the core components is really safe for you in the production usage as well. Within this chart, you can also see that October is already in 1.4 or 1,440 or slightly above tenants. So already in 10 days, or 10 days actually, counting from yesterday, we've been having more than 1,400 tenants using the core component. And the HTTP requests in September was 558 million requests going through the PMP CSAM core component towards SharePoint Online. And that's a super impressive number. If we have a look on the growth in October, it seems to be that we're hitting 800 million requests through PMP CSAM core component. So people are using the core component more and more within their customizations to automate stuff, to play around with, or to use the engine itself, or use the other capabilities within the core component. And the NuGet downloads are growing quite steady as well, so that's kind of understandable from that perspective. If you're wondering how do we do this tracking, we do this in a way because the PMP is owned by SharePoint Engineering. We do have access on the SharePoint Online logs on the server side. So what we do is that we add a PMP stamp to a client tag property in the client context, which we then collect from a SharePoint Online site. We're not collecting any other information, and you can have a look on how this actually works within that link. So if you download the presentation, which we're seeing today, which is available from the docs.com/office-pmp, you can actually have a look on the way we do the tracking in practice. And the only thing what we're tracking is essentially the version and the method which is getting called in the PMP core component. So for us, this is really important, so we're able to show the numbers for our leadership as well. Good. Moving along within the presentation. So quickly, just to summarize, there's always new people joining this call. So if you have any questions around the SharePoint customizations in general, the Yammer network has been shut down. So Office 365 developer network does no longer exist, and people are moving into the Microsoft Technical Network. So hopefully you'll move to there as well. Within the Microsoft Technical Network, we have a SharePoint developer group where the core team members, me included, and a few other engineers are looking into your questions and hopefully answering at least almost all of them. And there's an active community engagement there as well. So people are helping each other within that group around random questions around the BMP or SharePoint customizations in general. And the address for that one is http //ms SPPNP community. Then we do have a bi-weekly SharePoint Framework and JavaScript special interest group calls. And these are really kind of a calls where we have open discussion, because these monthly calls are more for us doing you summary. These special interest group calls are more to have an open discussion, and you can more easily jump in on the call and ask questions. So the special interest group for SharePoint Framework and JavaScript is a bi-weekly call nowadays, and AKMS SPPNP JS SIG call is the invite for that one. And the next call is actually on this week, so Thursday this week. We also rebranded the PMP office hours as bi-weekly PMP core and PowerShell special interest group. So if you have any issues, for example, using the engine, using the core component, using the remote time job framework from the core component, or whatever questions around the PMP usage, you can join that call. And that's an AKMS PMP core SIG call is the URL to download the recurrent invite for that one. And that particular call, the next call is actually next week on Wednesday at 7 a.m. PST or PDT. And then we have these monthly community calls, which are more around, like mentioned, for us telling you what has happened within a month, and then we'll do live demos on the new capabilities that have been included. So what has happened within October? A lot of these changes, which are now included in October release, are more around the SharePoint framework. And this was actually as designed. So the core team members and the PMP core team members and the community were contributing quite heavily on the SharePoint framework side as well. The first one is not directly on the SharePoint framework, but that's from Elio around the webhooks and how to build a SharePoint webhook service using the Node.js. And the Node.js is used with SharePoint Framework in the future as well, so it's a nice demo on how to build that one up. We do have a jQuery CDN, which is showing a SharePoint Framework usage and how to actually use jQuery from CDN using a client-side web port. jQuery photopile from Olivier is a nice example how to use the jQuery and photopile.js with SharePoint Framework. There's a JS Power BI embedded, which is around Power BI reports in the client-side web ports. There's a React Active Directory implicit flow sample, which is actually showing how you can build a client-side web part using React, and which is connecting to the Azure Active Directory. So how is it signing in, how you have to log into the Azure Active Directory and all of that stuff. There will be an article around this one as well, which will pinpoint the challenges and the different options around that approach. React organizational chart is something what we're going to see live today in the demo section from Vardhamam, which is illustrating a simple organization chart as a client-side web part and showing well, the organization of the particular user. React Search from Elio is a great one as well, building a search web part using the client-side web part. Obviously, within the future of SharePoint modern experiences, there will be a native search web part as well. But right now, we're still in dev preview with the SharePoint Framework, and a lot of the, let's say, the native out-of-the-box capabilities have not been yet exposed. But it's a great example how to build client-side web parts using React and Flux. So really kind of a, I wouldn't say advanced, but pretty advanced way of doing maybe React implementation. And then SharePoint CRUD example, which is showing how to do CRUD operations using React, Angular, JavaScript without any library, and using the SharePoint BMP JavaScript library. And then we actually have a new IT Pro script, which was released last week in the PMP tools section, which is around how to configure a hybrid cloud search service application. So how do you actually connect your on-premises SharePoint farm to a cloud search service application, where you can then crawl or index your content from on-premises towards the cloud. So you don't actually need to have a significant amount of additional storage within your on-premises. You can take advantage of this approach. And that script is showing how to make that happen from Neil Hodgkins. There was a nice update also from business, the solution business O365 Starter Intranet, which is actually a great starter kit for building publishing sites on top of Office 365 from Frank Cornu. And Frank is in the call. I saw that he's in the call. So if you have any questions on that one on the later part of the day, maybe we can actually answer some of those as well. A really great solution, which was included originally in the September release, but Frank has been then further involving that one during October. And then Radi Atanasov has been working still on the ASP.NET Core authentication layer. And this is really around how do you build your provider-hosted add-ins using the ASP.NET Core. Radi had few sessions around that one in Ignite as well, and those people who are using the ASP.NET Core were super excited on the fact that there's now availability for using the token helper and the classic SharePoint authentication with the ASP.NET Core as well. Good. Some kind of areas on the core PMP provisioning engine, PowerShell, and the core JavaScript side. So within the core component, and not a massive changes within this month. So it's more around polishing, and there was a few additional things included in the core component. The same thing applies to the PMP provisioning engine. There was some additional capabilities like apply and extracting groups from a subweb, but nothing that, let's say, massive within this release. It was more around getting the quality on the right level and doing changes, the basic changes, what we're doing every single month. In PowerShell side, the changes are more around the template handling, and I know that Paolo is going to show some of those commandlets later today. But those are more around if you're using the PMP core component, PMP provisioning engine, using the PMP PowerShell for applying templates. Those PowerShell commandlets will help on modifying that template if needed. And like mentioned, Paolo is going to show them slightly later today. In the JavaScript core component side, the release 1.5 or 0.5 is actually, I think it should be out today, or maybe it was out yesterday. I didn't check the latest from Patrick this morning. But that has a lot of additional things as well. And the core component, the JavaScript core has been moved to use the TypeScript 2.0. Oh, thank you, Patrick. So it's going to be out later today. And if you're interested on let's say the test automation and all of that stuff, we do have a really great site for you to use as well. So if you go to the https testautomation.sharepointbmp.com, you can actually see day-to-day results on our unit tests, which you can. So you will know if, for example, the PMP core component will start seeing issues within the first release tenants, and that means that you can actually figure out that, well, maybe I'll start seeing issues, or maybe I should actually ping the core team, and we'll follow up on those test results by ourselves every single day. We actually use the same engine for first release tenants testing as well, but those results are not available for external people. Good. Moving on things. So the PMP Templates Gallery is one big thing which we announced in the Ignite. So Paolo is going to show this one in practice slightly later today, well, in a few minutes. But this is really around providing an open source remote provisioning templates gallery for PMP template. So you might even kind of think through, if you've been in a SharePoint for a long time, you might remember the package which we released a while back, which was called Fabulous 40, which was ready-to-use templates for anybody in the community, and that was released by Microsoft as a, let's say, a reusable, well, as a solution package. The idea of this one is something similar. So what we want to do is that the community has indicated that they want to share their templates between each other. So this is really a CMS or a landing page for accessing those templates and finding those templates which might be relevant for you. Right now in the templates gallery, we only have 3 templates, which Paolo did to get things started, but we are looking into extending these templates with the community contributions. So hopefully we will have additional templates in the gallery relatively soon. And we're also looking into creating some of the templates by ourselves, so you will see more and more templates in the gallery in the future. And these templates are available for on-premises and SharePoint Online as well. So as long as you're using the PMP engine, either using the PMP PowerShell or managed code, you're able to apply these customizations to your SharePoint deployment. Good. A few PMP guidance articles, just to make sure that you're aware of this as well. So AKMS SP PNP MSDN is the PNP location, PNP MSDN node location, and there's 2 kind of relatively important guidance articles. There were some few smaller updates here and there, but then there's a larger article around introduction on the bulk custom user profile API, which you can use to fastly integrate, or how would I put it, synchronize user profile attributes from on-premises LOB systems to a SharePoint Online. And that article explains the reasons why we have this API, so the limitations with Azure AD and all of that, but it also shows how to get started with this new API, which is available worldwide across the tenants. The other thing what we had as a guidance is developing using tenant permissions with app only in SharePoint Online. And that's a really kind of an important article. If you are using the tenant permissions and app only, and you want to do development in a Visual Studio in an F5 way. So how you can actually do that, because there has been some changes around this tenant permissions with app-only handling and how they has to be registered in a tenant level. So that article and previously released article, which is kind of the father of this article, are explaining those changes and also how you can do this still in the future in Visual Studio. These are the people who contributed from community side this month. So we have Arjan from Society, Bill Ayers, Irvin Van Hoonen, Elio, Frank Corney, John Lee, Luis Manes, Mauricio Nunes, Paolo Pialorsi, Peter, Ruddy, Roland, Tero Arvoa from Digital Illustrated as well, Todd Pachinski, Wart Hammond, who's going to do the demo, and then Waldek has been working closely with us as well, and then Victor Villain from Avenay. Thank you extremely. We highly appreciate your contributions, because the PMP is community-driven initiative, and we're highly dependent on the contributions and work that the community is doing. So essentially, your contributions will help the others, so thank you for all that you do. And hopefully we'll see more and more people contributing in the future as well. Well, from a Microsoft side, we have a typical crew. Before going there, so this is the list of companies from the previous page, which we got a permission to use the logo. So there's a certain things based on our legal people. They said that we can't actually just show the logos unless we do have the people's permission. So these are the companies who have well, the people who contributed have been working on these companies, so the companies have been fine for these people to actually contribute for the benefit of the others in the community. If you are, or if you have contributed in the past and you would like to have within to October release, and you would like to have your company logo and the link mentioned in our communications, I will update the monthly communications blog post still if needed, but you need to send me the logo and your permissions to use the logo to do so. And that applies also in the future. So if you're contributing in the future, we're more than willing to promote your company and provide links through our communications, but we need to get permissions to do so. Good. From a Microsoft side, we have a typical set of people. There's a few additional guys on the left side, which are more around the engineering people, because we will have more and more SharePoint engineers contributing to the PMP initiative as well. So people from Redmond and also from China. And then Mike Morrison and Oliver Carpenter especially has been contributing significantly on the SharePoint Framework side. So Oliver contributed one sample to this PMP repo, and he has a lot of super powerful samples in the SharePoint Framework site within his own repositories in a GitHub. So you probably want to have a look on Oliver's stuff later on if you're interested on the SharePoint Framework elements. For the future, before we go to the demos, so obviously we'll still keep on or continue building the SharePoint Framework sample catalog. So we want to actually start building that catalog in the same way as we've done with the old adding model and the adding model and SharePoint BMP site, the classic BMP site, but we want to start building a similar catalog for SharePoint Framework as well. So whenever we actually go live fully with SharePoint Framework or the client-side web parts, you will have a set of proven web parts which are reviewed by the SharePoint engineers, and you can actually use them as a starting point for your customization. From a provisioning engine core component side, we're looking into just have a quality improvements. We're not planning to do any, let's say, massive changes for this month. We are obviously following up on the things and following up on the reported issues, but we're not, as an example, planning to do a new schema releases or anything like that. Core component keeps on evolving PowerShell general improvements as well. PMP Partner Pack continues evolving based on community input and contributions. And we're more than there was great discussions around the PMP Partner Pack as an example in Ignite last week, well, week before in Atlanta. From a samples and solutions side, the SharePoint Framework is a priority for us right now, so we're prioritizing that from an engineering perspective. So all of the new stuff which we will release will be most likely in SharePoint Framework side, but we are more than willing to take contributions in a classic adding model as well. So because that's really what the people are using on the day-to-day work. Already right now. The SharePoint Framework is in dev preview, so that's not ready for production usage yet. Good. So let's actually move into the demos. So I'll let Paolo actually take over. So Paolo is going to first do a demo around the PMP. There's a small typo in my copy pasting, but it's around the PMP Remote Template Gallery, and Frank's name somehow magically got included in that title. Sorry for that. But let's switch to Paolo, and I think, Paolo, you can just share your screen and take it over.
Okay, thank you, Vesa. I'm gonna share my screen. Let me know when you see it. Okay, I will stop, of course, your presentation.
Absolutely.
And let's talk about the SharePoint PMP Templates Gallery. Hopefully you will see it right now. Can you confirm it or not yet?
It's loading on my side, at least.
Loading, okay.
I'm in Redmond, so when I get it, most likely other people got it as well.
Okay, so let's wait just for a while, just to be sure that everybody can see it. Still loading?
It's loading still for me. I don't know if anybody else actually is seeing that already. Okay, Irvin got it. Okay.
Okay, so maybe we can start just chatting, and then I will show something more cool.
I think it's fine, yeah, where people are seeing
in a few seconds. Yeah, okay, great. So So the SharePoint Templates Gallery, as Beza said, it's a public website just to have an entry point to share PMP provisioning templates with the entire community. And those templates are templates created by the people belonging to the community, so by the community for the community. Right now you see on the screen the home page of the site, through which you can browse through all of the templates, which are just a few right now, as we said, are just 3, but we plan to improve, to increment the number of available templates based on community efforts and on our own efforts. And just to show you how you can use this website, of course, you can go through the top-rated or through the latest released templates using the eye area of the screen. But you can also use a search engine because, as we said, we plan to have much more templates available pretty soon. So we have a search engine which allows you to search the templates based on categories. Those are the categories that we defined so far to group templates by target, basically. We also have the platform filter so that you can search for SharePoint Online, SharePoint 2016 or 2013 templates. And of course you can also create and submit templates which can target multiple platforms at the same time if you want. And we also have a scope filter which allows you to select the templates which are targeting just the root website of a new site collection or subwebs, or eventually even partial templates that you want to apply or that you can apply onto an already existing site, for example, just to add some small capabilities or functionalities like custom content types and fields and custom list definitions on top of an already existing site. Moreover, we think that because sooner or later we will have quite a lot of templates in the website, it will be really useful to being able to filter the templates also based on a rating, so that in case you will have multiple copies or multiple templates for the same use case, you will be able to search and to eventually download the best ones, the most and best rated ones from the gallery. So let's say that we want to search. Of course, we can also search for free text. We can, for example, search for database as a keyword, and we will have, of course, the search result. And if we go into the detail page of the template we are looking for, we can see a preview image if needed. We can see much more details about the template, as well as some detailed descriptions of what the template will do to the target site, as well as you can download the template from here. And by clicking the download button, you will download a .pmp file, which is the new OpenXML format that we provide through the provisioning engine. And simply by using this .pmp file, you will be able to apply the downloaded template onto a target site, which you could already have, you should already have in your environment. So, for example, in my demo environment, I have a random site I created based on the theme site template, and what I can do, just using a bunch of PowerShell, is to connect to my target site, providing my own tenant level credentials in the Office Dev PMP tenant, as well as my password, of course. And I will be able to apply that template. I already had one copy of the template downloaded on my file system. I can apply the template onto the target site. It will take a while, and as most likely everybody in the call knows, the apply SPO provision template cmdlet will go through all of the artifacts defined in the template and will create all of these artifacts onto the target site. And in a matter of few seconds from now, we will have the target site ready with the layout, with the home page, as it was described in the detailed page of our template, as well as with the curricula document library, which will be used to hold a bunch of curriculum vitae from some people that want to work in our own company. But of course, we are not only end users of these kind of capabilities. We most likely want also to submit our own template. At least this is our guess and our hope, I would say. So if you want to contribute to the template gallery, and if you want to submit your own templates, well, at the very basis of the templates gallery, there is a GitHub repository, which is available under the github.com/officedev/pmp-provisioning-template URL. And here you will find, first of all, some information like a documentation file which explains you how to publish your own template. And if you click on the template publishing guidelines, you will see there are some or maybe few requirements that you need to adhere to in order to publish your own template. And moreover, you will also find a directory structure which under the root folder, main folder, will have one subfolder for each and every category that we do support right now in the template gallery. And for example, just a few seconds ago, we got the curriculum vitae database, which is an HR human resources template, which is available under the human resources folder. And here you can see we have two templates. The CV database is the one we used. Here we have the preview image, we have the PMP file, and we have a README file, which is the one that we see, exactly the one that we see here, because under the cover, the template gallery simply consumes, and it is in sync with the GitHub repository that we have. So let's say that you have a template of your own that you want to share with the community, and thank you for that. So you create your site, you design your site using the web browser or whatever technology you want to use to create your solution, and just after that you want to make the template available to everybody else in the community. Well, you can go to PowerShell. Of course, you can connect to the site, and instead of doing the apply SPO provisioning template, you can do the get SPO provisioning template cmdlet, and you can store your file somewhere on your file system, as you do whenever you use the template for yourself. After that, you will simply need to use the fresh new cmdlet that we released this month to apply some changes to the template before submitting the template into the GitHub repository through a pull request, as you can do whenever you want to submit a code sample or a code change in the core library. So we released the set SPO provisioning template metadata cmdlet, which accepts the path to a PMP file, and also a template display name argument, which will allow you to set the display name inside of the template, of the XML template stored inside the PMP file, as well as you can set the image preview URL for the template, as well as you can set some custom properties, which are those used to target the platforms for your template. So there will be the PMP support SPO platform, true or false, to declare if you want to support SharePoint Online, the same for SharePoint 2016, and exactly the same for SharePoint 2013. So by setting these three properties, the display name, the image preview URL, and the target platforms, your template will be most likely ready to be published as a pull request into the GitHub repo for the templates gallery. Another option that you have, again, using a couple of new cmdlets that we released this month, is the one based on the load SPO provisioning template cmdlet, which allows us to load from the file system a .pmp file and to load it in memory, as I will do right now, so that just after loading the template, you will have a complex type in memory, which is the provisioning template in memory, and with which you can play, you can change all of the properties that you need to change. And for example, and again, I can set up the display name, the image preview URL, and the properties. But you can also play, for example, with some additional information. Just to make a sample, whenever you create a template, and if you include the security information, it will also include the members of the administrators, the owners, the visitors groups, and stuff like that. But when you get your template and you want to share it with the entire community, you will need to remove the users coming from your own tenant, because you will need to have your template clean and ready to be shared with anybody else. So simply by playing in memory with the provisioning template, you can do stuff like that. And just to show you the result, in the additional administrators property, right now I have one member, which is myself, but if I execute this PowerShell statement, I will of course clear the content of the additional administrators, and I will be ready to save my provisioning template starting from my in-memory instance into a target file on the file system. Then I will get the file, I will create a pull request including this file, the README file, and any additional content, and the pull request will be evaluated by the PMP core team and will be pretty soon ready in the PMP Templates Gallery. Last but not least, we also made available a couple of more CMDlets, the add SPO file to provisioning template and the remove SPO file from provisioning template, which allow you to add or remove, as the name implies, one file from the PMP OpenXML file, so that if you want to add some custom content, a preview image or anything else into the PMP file before publishing your template, you can use these two CMDlets to enrich your template. Moreover, and to finalize my demo, I want to let you know that the template gallery is also supported out of the box in the new PNP Partner Pack v2. So if you go to the Create Site Collection capability of the Partner Pack, you will be able to select the templates you have in the Partner Pack within your own tenant, but you can also search for templates in the template gallery. And if you search, again, for example, for database, which was the keyword we used before, you will find the curriculum vitae database template, which can be used to create a new set collection in your own tenant using the Partner Pack, consuming the .pmp file directly through a set of REST APIs from the provisioning template gallery. So I think that you can now start enjoying the template gallery, and we hope that you will also find some time to submit your own templates to enrich the offering for everybody else. I think that's all on my side, Besa, so back to you.
Thank you, Paolo. Thank you, Paolo. Great run through of the capabilities. And obviously, if you have any questions around this one, you can use this call on the Iron window or the SharePoint, the Microsoft Technical Network, the SharePoint Developer Group for your questions. But like Paolo mentioned, we would really like to have more and more templates in the gallery. Right now, we have only 3. But we're looking in to have more community contribution on this side. And hopefully within the November PMP release, we are able to have an own slide within the monthly summary where we are listing all of the templates which are available. One comment what was actually mentioned in the Iron window, and by the way, Warthaman, feel free to start presenting as well. And Clark had a good question around the PMP provisioning engine and the relationship for the modern sites. And yes, the modern sites are coming sooner or later. Well, we still are waiting. It's coming sooner or later, and we're evolving that as we move along. Now, even with modern sites, you will most likely use the PMP provisioning engine until the full native SharePoint capability will be available, which is somewhere around next year, maybe. And the reason for that is that even though the UI, and there will be changes in the UI and functionalities, you will still most likely provision lists and libraries and content types and site columns and all of that. So that those capabilities are still needed. And the provisioning engine itself absolutely works with that. There's a separate session in Ignite where we talked about the site provisioning models, how we are evolving that for the future, and there's a link in the Iron window for that session if you're interested on that one. But let's move to Warthaman, and I can at least see what you're sharing, so we get it recorded as well, and let's actually get ongoing. So Warthaman, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Vesa. Can you hear me? And my desktop is being presented.
All good.
Okay. Thanks, Vesa. So nice to be in the community call. And for those who don't know me, my name is Vardhaman Deshpande. I work for a company called Content and Code based in London, and I've been working with the SharePoint framework for quite a while, since the first drop, and I've been playing around with some of the some of the functionalities, and then this is the web part I've created just to get a feel of the SharePoint framework and learn along the way. So let's straight away dive into the organization chart web part which I've created. So as you can see, this web part is running in my local workbench right now. It's getting some dummy content which I have provisioned. It gets the functionality of the web part is that it should show you the current user, that is you. It should show you your managers, your extended managers, and your reports. And this information should ideally be pulled from your SharePoint user profile using the REST API. So since this is the local workbench, we are not running in SharePoint. This is showing you dummy data right now. And then if I switch to my SharePoint instance, I have deployed the same web part without any code change to my SharePoint developer tenant, and as you can see that it's showing me the current user along with the extended managers and the reports. So, and when I click on a particular user, it takes me to the profile page, and then you can just confirm that we are indeed running in SharePoint. That this is, I can see the same type of organization structure on the Delve profile page as well. So functionality wise, there's not a lot to talk about because this is just an organization web part. We have seen lots of these before. Let's straight away dive into the code. So as you can see, I have used the Office UI Fabric, the organization chart component, not the React component because it's not available right now. So I've directly used the Office UI Fabric CSS directly in my web part. So talking to those of you who are familiar with the SharePoint Framework client-side web part structure, this is a web part which I'm using the React framework with. This is kind of like the starting part of starting point is the rendered method of any web part. So as you can see, all this is doing is creating a React component, React element, and then the React component is actually described here, which contains the JSX or the DSX, and which describes how the web part will render. Right. So a few other things to mention. As I said before, the functionality is really simple in this web part, but I've tried to use a few interesting components. So let me update that later. I've tried to use a few interesting components, as in the service scope, which is a nice way to manage plumbing for your web part, and also have used the new OData batching capabilities, which are provided by default in the SharePoint framework. So let's first have a look at the service scope and the service keys. So those of you who are familiar with the old server-side object model, and we used to have a pattern called service locator. So if I won't go too deep into that. So think of the service scope as just a dictionary where you have keys and values. Now the key is actually a service key, and the value is the instance of a class, basically. So when my constructor of my React component loads, first I create a service key and then register it to the default service scope, which is available in the SharePoint client-side web part. Now, depending on where the web part is running. So as you can see, the web part can either run on the local workbench or it can run in SharePoint. So depending on where it is running, I either register my user profile service, which is my main SharePoint service, which talks to the SharePoint user profile to get the managers and the reports, or I can register the mock user profile service, which gives me the dummy data back. So as you can see, both user profile service and mock user profile service, they inherit from an iUser profile interface, and then the mock user profile service just gives me back dummy data for all my methods. And then when I go to the user profile service, I may actually use the HTTP client to give me the proper SharePoint user profile data from the REST API. Now moving ahead in the web part, depending on what situation is, if the environment type is SharePoint or classic SharePoint, I use the default service scope, which means then I use the default implementation of the service key. And then when my code reaches this particular line, it doesn't matter which implementation of the user profile service I'm using, because the user profile service key registers and then creates the user profile service instance. So right in the constructor of my web part, I'm able to kind of associate the right implementation to the service scope and to the user profile service instance variable. Now going ahead, when actually the component React component loads, the get user properties function is called, and it gets the properties for the current user. So if we go back to the web part, you can see that the image, the name, and the job title of the current user is shown here. But the SharePoint API does not give you the picture, the name, and the job title of your manager or your reports. It only gives you the account name. So once you load your own profile and you get the account names, the login names of your managers and reports, you have to make another call to get the actual details. So if I go here, you can see the get properties for current user function is called. Then I set the React state of the user property to the person, and then I call the get managers and get reports functions respectively. And then when I go to my user profile service, you can see that just to mention that when I have a user profile service class, and then I have a constructor. Now you can see that I haven't explicitly passed the HTTP client, the web part's HTTP client object, because it's present in the service scope. So when I created my default implementation in the constructor, in the service, when I created the service key and when I consumed it, it actually passed the current service scope in the constructor of the user profile. So if I have to get the default HTTP client from it, then I can use it. I can get the HTTP client service key from the SP client base, and then create an instance of an HTTP client. And for all the functions where I need to talk to SharePoint, I can simply call my REST API on that HTTP client. So the benefit over here is that you don't have to manually pass in an HTTP client object or maybe your web part context object to your data fetcher methods. You can directly get them from the service scope. So you don't have to explicitly keep track of all your dependencies, etc. So same way, I'm getting the details of the current user, and then as you can see, the get managers and get reports are just wrappers on top of the get properties for user method. Here I'm using the OData batching functionality. So again, using the same HTTP client I got from the service scope, then it has a begin batch method. I loop through the login names which we get from the REST API in the first call, and then I I just enqueue all the REST API calls and then just do and execute once. So now all of this is available by default in the SharePoint framework. You don't have to build your own REST API batching library or anything. When you do an execute, it gives you back all the necessary values, which then you can use in your web part. Now, the code for this web part is already on GitHub. It might be a bit too complicated to explain it right now in the call, but yeah, you can have a look at the code straight away. Right, and same way, the same methods I've implemented on my mock user profile service class as well. Here, instead of talking to SharePoint, the dummy data is basically returned. But when my web part crosses this particular line, it doesn't really care what instance of the user profile service is being worked on. It just because I'm using an interface to work with it, so it should not matter whether the web part is running on the local workbench or whether it's running in SharePoint. It just calls the respective methods and then gets the data and shows it. So I think that probably covers the few important points I wanted to mention. It's the code for this web part is available on GitHub, and I also written a blog post covering the important points in this web part. So you can I'll post the links. You can have a look afterwards if you're interested.
And thanks, Bart, on that one. I'm going to switch on the slides. Just to mention, that's a great implementation or a sample implementation on those web parts, and it's really nice. Well, like you said, it's relatively simple, but it actually fulfills the whole, let's say, business scenario, and it shows really nicely how to do mocking and how to build kind of those client-side web parts in an efficient way. So a great implementation, no doubt. So really good and valuable samples for people to catch up and to learn how to build these things in the future as well. So great stepping stone for others as well. Good, but I think we are closing into, we have 5 minutes, so let's actually open up the forum if there's any random questions on the topics which we covered today. This is like the first time within this year when we have 5 minutes for actual Q&A time, so we're not running the full hour within the demos. And that's because, well, we dropped one demo from today's agenda. So we didn't have 3 demos, we rather have 2 demos without rushing, which hopefully is a better approach for the future as well. So if there's any open questions, what we covered today, or the PNP, or you need links or anything, feel free to use the I'm window, or you can as well unmute yourself and ask a question. We still have 4 minutes time if needed. Or we can always continue the discussion in the technical network, Microsoft Technical Network as well. But I think at least today we had 2 different great demos from Paula and Vartaman, and good examples of the stuff what we do within the PMP initiative. One thing what I probably want to quickly ask, the solution and the PMP Templates Gallery, which Paula showed. So right now that code itself for the gallery site is not actually available. Would that be beneficial for you guys and girls in the call? Saying guys and girls doesn't feel free. Good for you community members. So would it be beneficial for people to have that source code available as well? Because just as well we can put it into PMP tools or any other repositories.
Right, and actually the same question also applies to the code we use for our PNP test automation. So
yes.
It's not public yet, but if there's interest, we can definitely make that public as well.
Yeah, because those are kind of a typical ASP.NET MVC applications, but it might be beneficial, well, because why not actually share them? Maybe we'll put them out as a source code available in the PMP tools before the next release. And Nigel is probably asking something related on Bert's delivery on SharePoint Saturday Belgium, which is next Saturday. Bert, what are you actually talking there, just out of curiosity? Now you have 2 minutes time to promote the session.
Well, the session is about explaining kind of an overview of the breadth of PNP, covering what does PNP do, what value can you get out of it, and some cool demos on the key elements of PNP actually. So it's just a 50-minute session, so it's fairly short. So trying to put some demos in there and some general information about PNP.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
There's also a session from Waldeck, just making some advertisement for him as well around the SharePoint Framework.
Yeah. But okay. Anyway, I think it's time to close up this one. If there's not any open questions. So let's actually close this monthly community call. So thank you everybody for joining. We'll get the recording out the YouTube channel within 24 hours. together with links and all of that stuff. So there will be an announcement in the Microsoft Technical Network, which will have links and references, which were mentioned during the call. The presentation is already available in the in the doc site. So if you are interested on downloading that one, or if you want to use any of the slides within your work, you can absolutely do that as well. So if you go AKMS SPBNP-docs, that presentation is available within that site as well. But thank you everybody for joining, and hoping to see you on the November community call or in the upcoming special interest group calls. So thank you. Cheers.